So actually, I woke up this morning, and which, knock on wood, I woke up, but I woke up, and typically the first thing I do is I open my phone up, I check YouTube comments, I reply, and then I check my emails. Well, we're in January, and when I checked my emails this morning, I had over a dozen emails from you guys, viewers of the channel, whether they come from YouTube or Facebook or something like that. And I always give my email out, and I encourage you guys to send emails or comment on the videos with any questions you have, because my main goal is to help you guys. So I was going through emails, and I'm reading them, and like the number one question was, Dave, I'm getting ready to start prepping for food plots in 2020, but last year I planted a food plot and the deer didn't touch it. So the whole point of this video is I want to explain to you guys how to get the true attracting power out of your food plot, and I'm gonna try to keep it under 10 minutes, so I hope you guys follow along, because there's a little bit that goes into it and reasons why your food plot is not attractive. The whole point of a food plot, regardless if you are just trying to hunt over it to kill a deer, or just to be able to, if it's large enough, to be able to actually be big enough to provide deer with a year-round food source, no matter what that is. Doesn't matter, beans, if you plant corn, a winter wheat field, a whole field of brassicas. It just really depends on your goals, what you have to work with, and so on. But to actually achieve that true power of because there's nothing else that you can do that's going to be as powerful as a green food source. And the whole point behind a food plot is to be the most palatable food source around. And let's be real, when most hunters do a food plot, they don't put a lot of effort into it, and that's fine if you want to do it that way. And it's with anything in life, you get out of it what you put into it. If you just buy some buck on the bag seed and you find an area that gets adequate sunlight, and you just do whatever minimal effort and you throw some seed out, no soil test, nothing like that, you're going to get minimal results. Why? Is because that food plot's not going to be any different than your neighbors. It's not going to be any different than the browse in the area. It's not going to be any different to the deer. It's all going to pretty much taste the same. Yeah, it's a little bit different variety than what's out here, but if you don't put any effort into it, frankly, let's be real, it's going to be garbage, right? So the whole point of it, again, is to be the most palatable thing. Why is that? What do you mean is palatable? Well, when deer are in their travels, they're seeking out the most palatable food source. Obviously, that changes throughout the year. You might have one thing that's palatable in, say, September, and then that same thing is not palatable in October. Deer's diet actually changes throughout the year, and honestly, they're actually pretty picky eaters. When you see deer in the fields, what are they doing? They're seeking out the most palatable food source, and they're eating the tops because the tops are the most palatable. So how do you achieve them? How do you achieve that? Because when you plant food plots, you should be reaping the benefits of that, and that's one is the attracting power, and two is a quality food source for the deer. It all starts with a soil sample. If you guys aren't getting soil samples, you're giving yourself a disservice to the power of a food plot, because soil gives those nutrients to the plant. If you want to look at where the biggest bucks shot, well, the biggest bucks are shot in agricultural areas and swamp bottoms. Why is that? Agricultural fields are manicured. They're soil tested, they're limed, they're fertilized, and it has a higher nutrient level in the soil. Swamp bottoms, because everything runs downhill. All the nutrients run downhill to the lowest part, and all those nutrients feed the plants in the soil. So when you're trying to when you're trying to plant a food plot to be attractive, it all starts in the soil. So how do you do that? Well, you go to your store and you tell them you need a soil sample, and you check that soil sample on your property, and you do exactly what it tells you to do. If the pH, I want to say, we'll just throw out 6.2. If it's below a 6.2, you're doing yourself a disservice by not adding lime and correcting the pH in that soil. And obviously you want to get it to above a 6.5 is, you know, recommended. Closer to 7, 6, 8 is something like that would be optimal. But a lot of people add so much fertilizer at planting, but it's not doing any good because the soil is so acidic it can't give it to the plants. It kind of like binds it up. So the very first step before doing anything in making a attractive food plot is getting a soil sample. Read that soil sample. If your pH is low, you add lime. Obviously when you add lime, the calcium level and everything's going to go up in the soil, but when you're reading that soil sample, there's a lot of factors that go into it as far as reading it and what it actually means. There's a lot of things in there, but we'll get into that on a separate video. The main things that you want to focus on now is the actual pH. If your pH is low, you need to add lime to the soil and as soon as possible to get that corrected so you're ready for the spring, summer, fall, whenever you're, you know, want to plant, depending on your goals. But to really see the benefits of a food plot, you got to do a soil sample, guys. You have to. And yeah, you may get lucky. It may grow like a weed and be attractive. You'll get lucky. For the majority of folks, when you test soil, it's going to be acidic, especially if in pine areas. It's going to be very acidic for all them pine needles and everything, you know, decomposing in the soil. But another step in this is to pay an extra $5, $10 per soil sample and ask them to get a micronutrient tested in the soil as well. So they'll do the standard test, but they'll also add the micronutrients in. Micronutrients are the missing key to an attractive food plot. You guys can add those synthetically, artificially, you know, with fertilizer that has micronutrient packages in it, but it's still very minimal to the soil. You build micronutrients in the soil by synthetically. You add them through a fertilizer, you know, in a granular form. It comes mixed with the fertilizer. It's very minimal though. It does help. I like to do that at planting, just to give the plants an extra little boost. But you build those micronutrients in the soil over time from decomposing plants, adding green manure, tilling that green manure back into the soil and building that soil up, allowing that plant to release microorganisms. You allow it to release micronutrients and everything into the soil, and that builds up over time. Another great way to do it is actually using Antler Grow. Antler Grow is 100% micronutrients. You actually spray the greens. It's a super high concentration of micronutrients, which makes it super powerful and attractive. And then at the end of the year, when you go to till that back in, those micronutrients that are built up in the plant decomposes naturally in the soil, and then over time you build those micronutrients up in the soil as well. I believe those are your missing nutrients and missing key to an attractive food plot. But there's so many people that do food plots and they fail, and they say, oh, this food plot is not attractive or it didn't work, and that's because you're missing nutrients. If it's not any more attractive or different than the browse in your area, it's not any different than your neighbors, it's not very different than anything else, why would the deer eat it? Why are they going to spend time eating it? Obviously it needs to be unpressured and all that for the deer to spend, you know, daylight hours there. It needs to be in the right location and all that stuff. But remember, guys, building a food plot all starts in the soil, and it starts with a soil sample, building the pH up over time, building those micronutrients up to the plants so that plants can therefore absorb those nutrients in the soil through the roots, distribute it through the plant, and then give it to the deer. And if you're definitely trying to grow deer, then you need to actually focus 100% on those micronutrients. You've got to make sure those micronutrients are high, the fertility level in the soil is high, the calcium level, all that. It all starts from the soil, guys. When you're trying to attract deer and grow bigger deer, it all starts in the soil. There's many ways that you can build a healthier plot, and I encourage you to stay focused on the channel this year. We're going to be putting out a lot of educational videos. And if you guys planted a food plot in 2019, or if you plan on growing one in 2020, drop a comment, give the video a thumbs up, ask questions, be engaged in the video, and I'm going to reply to everybody's comment. And I cannot wait to produce more videos for you guys and help you guys achieve the best food plots in 2020. I'll see you guys.